900 athletes, 171 conference titles, 56 competitive teams, 17 national championships, all in one place.
Blue Nation brings you all of your blue gold sports action from Carson Park.
Take it into the end zone.
To the Sonnentag.
Splash Mountain.
Across the street at Hobbs.
Perfect chance here. Shot and score.
And back up the hill to Bollinger.
2 scores.
McPhee.
Maya Cinnamon.
And Simpson.
The bicycle kid.
Live from inside our very own TV10 studios, your starting lineup of John McClain, Gary Barta, and the rest of your sports team. This is Blue Nation.
Welcome to Blue Nation, your home for all things blue gold sports. I'm your host, traumatized from what I witnessed in Game 5, John McClain.
And I'm Gary Barta, hoping that John Horst could never land a job again in basketball, even at the local YMCA, bringing you stats, scores, and more from the Blue Golds and beyond.
We'll kick off today with, guess what, top plays from this week's face-offs across the board.
Then Justin Narveson will join us to converse about the recent happenings in Green Bay this past weekend with the NFL Draft.
Before finally, Gary and I return to the board for some table talk, going over each conference slate heading into tourney time. Before then, the spectator specialist himself is back for his second consecutive week, this time on the track.
Saturday, UWC hosted its annual Dick and Mary Johnson Invitational right here at Simpson Field. A lot of the attention was away at Drake and Penn relays, but nonetheless, freshman Jackson Schultz rose to the occasion and made his mark, taking home the 100-meter title in his first collegiate win. Despite not having the cleanest of starts by his standards, the new kid on the block from Arrowhead stormed back to take it at the line in time of 10.88 seconds, only 300ths short of his personal record at 10.85. Teammate and senior leader Charlie Wolter came in at second with a time of 11.01. 3 other men would join him in the winner's circle, including Daniel Murray in steeplechase, Soren Johnson in discus, and Tommy Mesnick in javelin. 4 women also took home gold, with Mackenzie Cruz in the 400 hurdles, Emma Gruen in the long jump, Kendall Thurston in hammer, and Laura Bertrand nabbing a double crown on the weekend in both high jump and javelin. The squad regroups and hits the road this weekend for the WIAC Championships out at Titan Stadium Friday and Saturday. And for track, a great job by the freshmen to be able to do it. And obviously, like we mentioned with Drake, being away on the Drake relays, he was still able to get it done with the tension on them.
Most certainly, getting the first win under his belt is certainly a big accomplishment, but softball continues to be tested in conference play, especially with a back-and-forth series with UW-Platteville Saturday afternoon. Both infields showed up and showed out with hitting power prevalent on both squads. Second baseman Emma Rykowski shows off the athleticism with this diving tag. In the top of a fifth, the short hopper aiming for center field found the second baseman's mitt, laid out and with quick thinking, slaps the bag for a force out to stop the runner from advancing. Everyone in the building expected a flip to the shortstop, but nonetheless, the job was finished. Not only on the play, the Lady Golds handled business on the scoreboard in extras, with Kenna Strunzi laying down the game-winning bunt to seal the deal for UWEC after going down 6-4 in the top of the 7th. Eau Claire also hits the road over to the Titans' house to wrap up conference play, while the Pioneers host the Eagles as they fly down to wrap up their seasons respectively. And this squad continues battle-tested week in, week out against tough conference foes, still splitting each series, and it'll come down to the wire, which we'll talk about later. But Gary, what's your pick?
Yeah, we're going to head over to the other diamond. After many trials and tribulations, Eau Claire baseball fans can finally rejoice as they snag their first conference win on the year, snapping a 23-game skid. Dropping Game 1 to Platteville, Eau Claire battled back thanks to this 2-score RBI from Drew Salyers. At the top of the 6th, trailing 5-4, Salyers nearly put one over right center, but ultimately dropped it short to allow Cole Clausen and Austin Buck to score off of his double. Salyers and Buck tacked on 2 more to jump in front 9-5, showing their late surge ability and growing their largest lead of the season. Despite the late rally by the Pioneers on their home turf, UWEC holds on for their first conference dub of 2025. They now host River Falls at home Friday afternoon, hoping to carry their momentum to the end of the year, while Platteville heads over to the league-leading Whitewater Warhawks for a 2-piece on Friday night. And Alec, it was definitely something that the Blue Golds fans, they've been waiting for, and it was such a clean, good win from UWEC. Now, I had the top play of a championship last week. I believe you've got another one on store for us here today.
Yes, absolutely, Gary. Another club sport captures the national spotlight. This time, our good friends over on the rugby team took home the NCR national title out on the East Coast this weekend, shutting out Springfield College in the process. Calvin Schmitz would seal the deal with this scamper for a try. Already leading by 15, the ball slips loose and Schmitz takes off down the left wing. Already knowing the weight of this score, celebrating all the way to the end. The try was only the cherry on top to what was already such an illustrious season for the squad, dominating every facet of the tournament into the championship bout. This was the 4th tournament win for UWEC this semester alone, taking home their opener at the NCPR Peach Cup, which punched their ticket to nationals in the first place. In addition, they dominated their home Ironman invite and won their conference in Madtown for the Great Midwest. In addition to Conan and Schmitz on the score sheet, international man from the University Stirling in Bath, England, Joe Wesley got his own after battling knee injuries all season long. Huge congrats to the fellas, and here's to many more. And again, for UWC Rugby, just a few years ago, struggling, and now the last 2-3 years, we've been really solid. National championship here. Let's see what they got in store for next year.
First one in 45 years, might I add. But when we come back from the break with Abe and Somerset from Game Show, our very own Justin Narveson will break down his winners, losers, and surprises from this year's NFL Draft. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Blue Nation on TV10.
B5.
Well, I got a 7, so +2.
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we should probably read the directions next time.
Probably. You know what does make sense? Game Show. Hi, I'm Abe.
And I'm Somerset.
We're the host of Game Show.
If you want to see us play more games like this, or Jeopardy!
Or The Price is Right.
Check us out on mytv10.uwec.edu.
And if you ever want to be in one of our episodes, make sure to scan the QR code somewhere on the screen. Peace.
Welcome back to the desk of Blue Nation here tonight. We're joined by Fugazi, draft expert, who just so happens to be our station manager as well, Justin Narveson, to talk over his findings in the frozen tundra over the weekend. Justin, it's a pleasure for you to join us tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I had a great time at the draft, too, so I think that makes me the draft expert, the only one on the entire staff to go to the draft. So I think that makes me qualified for this experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
First of all, we'll kick it off with your winners from the draft. You know, which team out of all 32, who had the best across the board, first round through the final pick on Saturday? Who won it?
I think you got to go with the Colts. The Indianapolis Colts had a great draft. You get Tyler Warren in the first round, best tight end. The Bears mess up and not take him, so it falls to the Colts, and you're able to get that. You get a great edge in JT Tui Maloau. So you got options there. Like you get options in the second round there. And then the 7th round, they take a guy I love, a whiskey guy at heart, Hunter Roller. They're going to convert him to linebacker, and we know what Wisconsin does with linebackers, right? Mm-hmm. So you get great value all across the board. Riley Leonard as well. You can buy, he's like Anthony Richardson mixed with a Daniel Jones. Like it's a weird mix of players there.
I don't know if you want to be mixed with Daniel Jones.
The arm of Daniel Jones.
Okay.
He's got the physical traits of Anthony Richardson, arm of Daniel Jones.
Okay.
So it's kind of, it fits into their scheme, you know, like what they want to do offensively, and it just was overall a really good draft.
And do you think Hunter Wooler would get a lot of big-time PT this year, stepping into that secondary immediately, or do you think he'll, wait it out on special teams, and do you think he'll be more year 3 guy ready to go? What do you think?
I think he's going to follow very similar to like Andrew Van Ginkel, where it takes a while for him to come on. He'll be a solid linebacker that will get a certain amount of playing time early on, but then once he kind of matures into that role, and again, they're converting him to linebacker. So there's a lot of space in that Colts linebacker room for someone to break out. It feels like he could have a year 1 breakout, but he feels like more of a long burn, kind of later end of his career, he's going to break out and have a good year.
And might I add, maybe just to avoid bias just a little bit, I see you repping Braden Narveson on the jersey. I'm surprised you didn't take the Packers as your winners. Why was that? Do you think they're overall, the first round, obviously, Mark Murphy came out, electrified the entire state and Packer nations and cheesehead hearts across the land and wherever have you. Do you think the later rounds maybe hurt them, or you just think they weren't as strong? Why'd you pick the Colts?
Yeah, the Belton pick really threw me off. Sure, big dude in the second round, but it was above where he was projected to go. He's kind of just a raw big dude right now, doesn't have much in terms of great technique. And then you followed up with Savion Williams, who's kind of a gadget special teams guy who probably isn't going to break the wide receiver room as a wide receiver this year, besides maybe a few weird Wildcat scenarios that Matt LaFleur might break out, because he loves to break that out. But it just felt like the later rounds, it kind of got away from what the Packers need to. Like, cornerback being one of your 7th round picks is not ideal.
I do wonder if, something's got to be going on with Jair, right? Something. They have to be talking with. I believe Rob Domofsky came out with something even maybe this morning or yesterday, that the Packers are working however they can with Jair Alexander, and one of them was a potential stay. So Micah Robinson, I like the guy. I don't know. I think they wanted corner early, but I would have preferred an Azari Thomas or somebody like that in the 2nd round over the offensive lineman they took. But I mean, when you're 6'5", 330, you just signed Aaron Banks, who's 330. You're looking at a Philadelphia Eagles-sized offensive line with a Saquon Barkley-esque Josh Jacobs. We saw what happened last year.
That's true.
With number 10, anything can happen with number 10.
I think he'll step it back up this year. But now shifting over from the positives, a little more into the negatives. Who you got as your biggest loser coming out of this weekend? Just bottom of the pile, didn't really put up what anyone really expected.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to get any value when you don't have draft picks. And that's kind of what I was looking at. A lot of these teams, there were a good amount of teams that had 5 or less draft picks, and one of those being the Minnesota Vikings. Bias aside, they got good value, but I don't think these guys pan out.
You think it's just regardless of the quality, I think where the Vikings sat, especially with their record and the lack of trades and lack of picks, I think, again, you always preach quantity over quality, but when you don't have the quantity, it's hard to get the quality that you're looking for.
Like, I love Ty Felton's tape, their 2nd round wide receiver, or their 3rd round wide receiver. My concern is his size. He is very light to be an NFL wide receiver. And we've seen that in the past impact guys when trying to make that 2nd level drop. He has great production at Maryland. Guy can take the top off of any defense you want, but can he get it done on the NFL level is the question. You also got a guy like Donovan Jackson.
Exactly.
Was a bit of a reach, but he was one of the better guards left on the table. They were projected to go middle of the 3rd with the guards left. So they got good value. None of them were really reaches besides Gavin Bartholomew, the tight end that they picked up from Pitt, or maybe even Donovan Jackson. The rest of the guys were kind of taken after when they were expected to go. But it just feels like guys that I don't see transitioning to the NFL really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the Vikings, I definitely agree with you. You're in that 1st round. The Packers pick their wide receiver right ahead of you. That's kind of your game. You're Justin Jefferson, you're Jordan Addison's. It almost felt like the Packers and Vikings swapped. The Vikings always going with those flashy 1st round picks. The Vikings, who in my personal mock draft, I had either going Malachi Starks or Nick Emmanwori, because I just really feel that even though they may not start year 1, Harrison Smith's getting old. He's getting very old, and getting a guy from the SEC just like that who can step up in 1 to 2 years whenever Harrison Smith calls it quits. I think you missed on your 1st round pick. That, or you need to trade out. If you have 4 or 5 draft picks in a 7 round draft, somebody's coming to call for a quarterback. I mean, we saw the Giants come calling for Jackson Dart. Tyler Shuck went start a 2nd round. Somebody came knocking. I just wonder if they didn't get the value that they wanted.
But you look at that Atlanta and that Giants haul that ended up doing it was just draft picks.
Yep.
And that's all you want if you're the Vikings. And it just feels like, they played very passive, and then still able to get a 3rd round wide receiver was confusing as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And to wrap it all up, your biggest surprise out of the draft, regardless of what it might be, team, player, picks, amount of picks, what do you got on your board?
It's the number of quarterbacks selected. This quarterback class felt extremely weak.
That's the word for it.
From top to bottom, there's not one guy that looks like, he'll be the guy. Cam Ward kind of emerged as that, but I don't know, if you're a QB need team, you waste the number 1 pick on him. But if you're not, he's not going in the top 10 probably. That's just the way the table fell. And 14 quarterbacks were selected. Technically 15 if you count Tommy Mellott from Montana State, converted to wide receiver. So that breaks the record back to 2016. 15 quarterbacks were selected. 2023 had 14, but that was a strong quarterback class. And then back to 2004, the record's 17 quarterbacks. So to see 14 quarterbacks, usually it's around 10 or 11.
you had 3 more guys than normal go. It just doesn't feel like that deep of a class for that scenario to happen.
Yeah, this class almost, it felt like the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. Malik Willis kind of worked out for the Packers, but
Worked out amazing.
but like that sort of class where like you've got the corrals and all that, where nobody's really worked, but a quarterback's gonna go.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously we didn't see Pickett go until like the early 20s to Pittsburgh, but it almost feels like Pittsburgh was kind of trapped into selecting Kenny Pickett, home guy, kind of rose to stack towards the end of the year. But these not back-to-back classes, but that class and now this year's class, like you mentioned it, Cam Ward, if this is last year's quarterback class, he may be a second-round guy. Like, great out of Incarnate Word, absolutely great story, going to Wazoo, then going to Miami. But Tennessee, are you sure he's better than the Mayo Man? Like, are you sure he's better than Will Levis?
We'll have to see how that pans out, but that's all the time we have for draft discussion. But what's the WIAC forecast calling for? Find out after this message from Handful. You're tapped in to Blue Nation.
I don't know.
Did you read the instructions before doing this?
No, I never do. I think with it stating desk.
I didn't bring water or anything. I was gonna bring milk. I forgot.
Another competitor has entered the stage.
This wasn't planned at all. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune in to Handful on My TV 10.
Welcome back to Blue Nation here on TV 10 with our concluding discussion of Table Talk, where John and I show you how the conference shakes out heading into the postseason. Mind you, this recording is happening prior to the April 30th slate of games, so anything could change from here on out, but we'll start with the probably craziest slate yet, softball.
And kicking it off at the very start in the 1 and 2 places, only 2 games separating each other as of right now, 12th ranked Whitewater and 21st ranked Oshkosh. These 2 teams have been going at it right now with, Whitewater coming into this, playing now Stevens Point, who is now 4th, in a 3-way tie between 4th and 6th. This just shows how dense the conference is. 2nd and 3rd right here and 6 and 4. The only thing keeping it up here is the 2 less losses. And UW Oshkosh dropped the series to Stevens Point, getting swept by them 6-0 and 4-3 in extras last Wednesday, as well as Whitewater heading down to River Falls as well. It should be a real scary bout heading into the end. And Platteville closing the season with La Crosse at home, who is right there.
Yeah,
the
right in the thick of it. Yeah.
Third-ranked Platteville, 7-1 at home. Very notable home record and very formidable from top to bottom. Anything can happen. Anyone can host, and anyone can make this tournament, Gary.
Yeah, it really feels like anywhere from UW La Crosse up, it would take quite a bit for them to host, especially the La Crosse, the Eau Claires, the Stevens Point. It would take a couple ifs than that, but really we've seen such a tight conference, and this is one of the first times we've seen this conference be this tight in quite a bit of a while. But UW Whitewater, UW Oshkosh, the 2 heavy hitters up top. UW Oshkosh, they're led out by the pitching staff. Brianna Bougie, .63 ERA. That's first in the WIAC. Opponent batting average, .147. I mean, she's been absolutely dominant. She's the save king, queen, whatever you want to call it softball-wise for UW Oshkosh. 6 saves on the year. That is 3rd in the conference. But I believe it comes down to that 2-horse race. Whitewater has a little bit of the easier schedule down the way. They have that UW Stevens Point series, but besides that, they finish with River Falls and with Stout. Definitely put your cards all on UW Whitewater when it comes to the WIAC standings for softball.
And to round out the bottom, La Crosse was just recently swept by Whitewater, as well as Stout losing their last 5 of 6. But I'm moving on to a little bit more of a wide open conference. We'll shoot over to baseball here. Again, Whitewater clear and away at the top by a good 6 games. And I mean, I feel like this one's pretty wrapped. It's a 2-horse race at this point, and it's kind of just fair game to see whoever else can get into the tournament. Oshkosh and Platteville kind of tied right now. Stout and Stevens Point still vying for those last couple of places, and River Falls and Eau Claire. Again, River Falls, I believe the first-year program as well.
Yes.
And Eau Claire still trying to get their footing after being reestablished 4 years ago. But it's Whitewater's conference to lose.
Yep. Let's
be completely honest. I mean, they've won 9 of their last 10. They dropped one to UW Stout, which is very interesting, but they are 2nd in the nation. They're fresh off the College World Series appearance with a lot of returning parts, and they lead the nation in probably just this air raid batting. 371 for the entire team and 79 times gone yard. I mean, this is just a very dynamic squad.
Yeah, Whitewater, they're led by their top two heavy hitters, Skolin, Kootway. Both of them are 1 and 2 batting average, 1 and 2 in OPS. I mean, you find the WIAC record books, Kootway, Skolin, they're both on it. But when you take a look at this UW lacrosse team, 2 games back of UW Whitewater, pitching staff is really the thing that has led UW lacrosse to the top. Owen Depry is their main guy, but the depth is just there. UW lacrosse always seems to find their way into the win column, and their big bat, George Seaman, 385 average, 8th in the WIAC, but gets on base quite a bit, 461 OPS, so able to get those walks when he has to. But lacrosse and Whitewater, yeah, those are your top 2 juggernauts.
And noting lacrosse as well, they've scored 11.4 runs in their games on average over their 5-game winning streak. And Oshkosh, again, in that distant third. But now we'll shoot over to lacrosse, which we are actually hosting this time of year at the beautiful Sonnentag. So the TV10 crew in full force coming to you this weekend, Friday and Saturday, starting with our 1-4 matchup at 5:30. Well, I guess that's second, but we'll start with them. Colorado College, the league champs, 21st nationally. They've been dominant week in, week out in the league. Cassidy Schnaufer, the leading goalie, the top gun in the WIAC as well, 545 save percentage and only allowing 6.3 goals per game, which also leads the conference in that stat. UW lacrosse with their leading average scorer in Ava Schmiltz, 3.47 goals per game and the least turnovers as a team. This team wants to control the possession and just keep it away from Colorado College as long as possible. Then shooting up to our 2-3 matchup. And again, Regan Warner, enough said.
Yep,
I mean,
exactly,
she has been producing all season long. 2.5 goals a game, 1.63 assists per game, 4.13 points per game. Also reached the 100-point mark and 100 goals mark in her career, as well as causing 2.13 turnovers per game. And St. Benedict beat Eau Claire in the regular season with hat tricks behind Mosley and Osland. This should be a very interesting slate, but honestly, my pick is going to be Colorado College advancing, but I think Eau Claire will rally behind the home crowd and be in that championship slot.
Yeah, I do like that. I think if there is a matchup for Colorado College to worry about, it is that UW lacrosse squad. You mentioned Ava Schills, that just the goal scoring ability, 3.47, leading the WIAC third in total points per game, including the goals and assists. This is a hungry UW lacrosse team. They just came off of the loss to UW Eau Claire, so it's really going to be them trying to knock off the top dogs. Colorado College, man, I mean, absolutely incredible. You think Eau Claire is a great squad whenever you see them rack up these 20-0, 33 games. Then you have these Colorado College and St. Benedict games where they're just like absolutely tight knot. It's going to be a great tournament. Great for the Sonnentag and UW Eau Claire to be able to host it. I got the same thing. I've got Colorado College moving down here, UW Eau Claire to the top. Lacrosse and St. Benedict in that third place game. I believe actually lacrosse will finish third in that. I got Colorado College winning it all. I mean, they're the juggernauts. It'd be great to see Eau Claire host it and win it. But
crazier things have happened.
Ice hockey, men's ice hockey has happened. But Colorado College, I mean, just an absolute unit. May 3rd, 5:30. You're not doing anything. Pack the tag. Pack the tag.
I hate that you call it the tag. Just call it the Sonnentag. But what Gary said, pack the stadium. Let's get a loud house for the championship game, May 3rd, 5:30 p.m. Be there or be square. I am watching you. Moving on to track now to close this out here. And again, the meet, I guess, there's no tournament, there's no table really. It's really just lining it up May 2nd and 3rd out at UWO. The brand new track, might I add. It's looking amazing. And just going over this, sprints when Blaskowski, Williams, and Klachewski all step on the track. It is must-see television. And Blaskowski, again, it's his conference to lose. He has just been electric in the trials, in conference, in nationals, whatever have you. His last year, his last dance at WIAC, he's going to light it up. But on the women's side, Lauren Jarrett, the record holder, I have her on upset watch.
Ooh, okay. That's bold.
There's been a freshman down at UW Whitewater, Dakota Mitchell, seriously making some noise. Second in the conference in both the 1 and 2, and also holding top 5 spots in the 100, and also number 8 in the nation in the 200. I think she's bound to make some noise and maybe even shock some people heading into that hurdles. And going back to the freshman theme, Blake Postler, who just set the school record here at UWEC, sporting the fresh pink buzz, might I add, and Daniel Wilson, another shock out of Oshkosh. They're 3 and 6 respectively. They should have some great finishes in the conference as well. And UWEC, again, throws U, multi-U, it don't matter. They're going to have an amazing weekend out at Oshkosh, wherever it might be. And I got a strong feeling Stegman, Campbell, and Stoltze will go 1, 2, 3 in the multis. Might be a little hometown bias, but they have lit it up, especially at the Phil Eston Challenge. Jay Stoltze holding the 3-time national champ Mitch Stegman against the ropes in day 1. But Mitch Stegman's an amazing pole vaulter and hurdler, and he's just an amazing athlete to follow as well. Jumps, expect that man Rivers to light it up yet again. He has been phenomenal. The Oshkosh coaching staff working with him, and he has just been a serious high flyer going through this year. And distance, the Matai twins are dangerous. Watch out for Christian Patska. I'm sorry, Grant Matai is one of the Matai twins, but Christian Patska will seriously be a threat. That should be must-watch TV as well for all of my distance lovers out there. And do you think lacrosse, a school that has not dropped this crown in oh so long, maybe even on the men's or women's side, do you think it happens this weekend out at the Titans' house?
I mean, I think we could definitely see it. I mean, what else can you say about this conference? This conference is the most stacked conference we have in Division III. I mean, it's why it's called the SEC of Division III. There's a reason for it. I could see it. It's going to be a tough feat. I'm not going to predict anything because you never want to go against the favorites. But UWEC, time's now. Time is now.
I mean, what better time than the present? And as Brian Bott said it himself, the best Division III conference in the world. And it's not even close. But the clock strikes all zeros yet again on another episode of Blue Nation here tonight. If you want to see more of this, check out mytv10.uwec.edu or on YouTube at UWEC TV10.
The social media is also a great way to see if Game Show breaks up for the 40th time or if David has any structure. Or the rest of our lovely shows at UWEC TV10 on Instagram and on TikTok.
From myself, Gary, Alec, and Eli, those inside the studio and out of it, we love and thank you for your time here tonight. For Blue Nation, I'm John McClain.
And I'm Gary Barta.
Saying good evening, and until next time.